episode 17 of Anime for Trashdwellers. It's here, guys. It's A3 Act Addict Actors. Or should I say A4 Act Addict Actors Autumn, because that's right, it's the Autumn Troupe arc. No American Fall bullshit here. There ain't no fussing about this time round. We are straight to waiting to see who turns up for the audition. And would you look at that? Our little photographer bro with his random "geez, I'd like to act" monologue last season is here. Next to arrive is basically the evil version of the red-haired kid from Spring Troop, cause he looks exactly like him. But his introduction is, "Hey, I have fuck all acting experience. I'm just here to help me pick up chicks." And Hyper-chan's just like, "Alright, high five, man." So he straight away just falls in love with Simi Boy. Once he finds out he's a boy, just looks real depressed. Like, oh my god, even if he is a boy, he's still super cute. Don't let his dick hold you back. Love is love. He specifically states that he's upset that he can't be in a messy theater love triangle romance. Like, fucking Jesus, kid. Did you just spend too much time watching soap operas and then decided, I want that? And then it arrives. This guy enters with the hottest hair of the series. Okay. Realizing that both my favorite two boys are Hijirikawa and Tokia, I realize I have a bit of a bias for blue hair. Plus, Taemin had blue hair once, therefore making it a hot hair color. But also, like, some of it is slicked back, but then there's just like a little bit that hangs in his face as a side fringe. Taemin has kinda had this hairstyle, but whatever. His hair is hot, end of discussion. When Illuminati-chan sees this guy, he goes, "Wow, cool, his eyes are triangular." Like, oh my god, Illuminati-chan, I don't care if you're also Asian, that comment is not okay. Shai-chan recognizes this guy, but he just talks right over him like he ain't got no time for nerds. He has no acting experience, but goddamn, this Yankee's gonna be an actor. Then the comedian just drags in this kid loitering around, he's also a Yankee, who immediately starts arguing with this kid. So yes, they were the random gangsters fighting at the end of last episode. And then our very last member of the troupe, I meant person attending the audition, even though those terms are synonymous in this universe, is, you'll never guess it, but old Andy Warhol. Even though this guy's kinda supposed to be the villain of the series, here he is helping Personality-chan. So the audition, this time, is reading a convo which is telling your mum over the phone that your deadbeat ass passed the exam. Once again, more beautiful portrayals of bad and good acting that is actually bad and good that make me want to cry! Up first is Photographer-chan, and he abruptly finishes his lines and has long, awkward pauses between them, but everyone muses that his voice is low and smooth enough to make you forget that. Evil Red is surprisingly good for someone who hasn't acted before. Hot hair, unlike his hair, is a bit flat, and he tells him that he is well aware of that, but he's gonna work hard to get better at it. Whilst his nice supportive Yankee friend just bursts out laughing as soon as he's done. So in pure prick style, other gangster kid is better than him in acting and fucking lets him know it. But then Hot Hair says he shouldn't be acting because he doesn't have the drive for it. Evil Red is literally only here to help score Tinder dates, but of course it's this kid who's the problem. They almost start fighting again. Well, they don't, because Andy Warhol, aka a debt collector and therefore probably an actual gangster, doesn't let that pity shit hold and fucking barks him into submission. Hot Hair begs to be put in the theatre company. Like, mate, you haven't done the math here, and you haven't read the room about just how lax things are around here. Personality-chan states that as long as he has the passion and drive, then that's okay. Moomin Rider has shown us all how that is not okay. Once Andy Warhol says his lines, Personality-chan thinks, there's a maturity to him the others don't hold. Like, that's a pretty sexy way of saying he's 10 to 20 years older than everyone else in the room. Congratulations, they all pass, wow. They're figuring out dorms, and Photographer-chan says that he can't move in because he's needed at home. He thinks on that thought for a bit, and then goes, nah, fuck it. Little bro and dad can look after themselves for a change. Yes, housewife, you go be independent. Woo! Leave them in their filth. They come up with the genius idea of moving the two kids that keep fighting one another into the same room. For clarity, when Kei couldn't stand sharing a dorm with Minho anymore, he moved out and hey, they're still friends and in a group together. Meanwhile, when Mina and Jimin didn't get along and they were forced to share a dorm for almost 10 years, and hey, in case you don't know how well that turned out, Mina is left with serious mental health problems and Jimin has been disgraced and kicked out of the industry. During this scene, Hot Hair goes on a big spiel how he's on the wrong path at the moment and he wants to change that. He wants to become a better person through acting. It's that lame, turned his life around gimmick you see in like lame Oscar bait shit. I love it. Other gangster says how Hot Hair will only ever be able to play gangsters on stage. I'm sorry, but have you seen how hot his hair is and the rest of him? We get the other gangster kid's backstory, which is that he's very good at everything, which makes him bored. Except fighting Hot Hair, because Hot Hair whipped his ass when he fought, but since he won't fight him, he'll just have to beat him at acting instead. Okay, love that he's acting for the same reason as a shonen villain would, but I feel like his backstory is supposed to make him more sympathetic, but you know what? I just hate him more. And then the last beautiful scene. Shai-chan goes up to Hot Hair because they're related. And Hot Hair's like, we can't let people know we're related. And Shai-chan's like, oh, don't worry. I'm used to people being embarrassed by my association with them. I'll leave you alone. And once he's gone, Hot Hair soliloquies like, no. It is he who is the embarrassment, and how he only wants people to know they're related when he's a better man. Oh my god, this guy's plot is so lame. I love it. And then we see him watching the Alibaba play and the inspiration in his eyes to leave his gangster ways for the stage. Episode 15. Hot Hair and Gangsta are at it again. Like, what are you doing here? Despite the fact that they're both attending a meeting for the entire theatre company. Like, all the troops are there. Like, I get it that some of them still help out even when they're not performing, like Scripter, Simi Boy, and Hyper-chan, but what the fuck do the rest of them do? Personality-chan asks who would like to be the lead of the troupe and the lead actor. I only just realized they always pick the lead actor before they even know what play they're doing. I guess because they write their own plays, it's easier to know who's the lead and then just end up writing a role that would suit them. It's first offered to Andy Warhol and he like, I'm too old for this shit. Gangster, he's watching Hot Hair. He's watching that courage to ask build up in his eyes, just so he can offer himself up as the lead first. Dick move. But Personality-chan figures from the past two troupes that the lead usually goes to the member with the most shit going on that needs to be sorted. You could just organize a counselor at the dorms, but whatever. Andy Warhol comes in with a big ass scroll about the new rules for the dorms. The anime thought this would be a great opportunity to welcome Prince-chan back into the story so that we could see him be unable to read kanji properly. Andy Warhol's rules are showers are only 20 minutes long and that there's no electricity on night and everyone's like, the fuck? And he shouts at Personality-chan, you're still in debt to me, remember? Fucking act like it. Personality-chan brings up that the gacha challenge was just to sell out the plays and nothing else. The old comedian brings up this fancy acting award they could win. And then everyone else brings up that their tiny little 200-seat theatre probably doesn't qualify. During this meeting with all the characters, I just glance over at Hot Hair like, damn, that hair is still hot. At dinner time, Photographer-chan asks what people would like for dinner, and everyone's just like, meat! Most people would probably just chuck on a couple of snags they had lying around. But Photographer-chan's like, I'll put on those ribs I was marinating. If you were marinating ribs, why didn't you just cook them up for dinner in the first place? Then he also interprets meat as a fancy fucking cheese and avocado wheels or some shit. Like, this level of cooking isn't what you usually see in a dorm, but whatever. The next morning, Evil Red and Hot Hair are heading off to school, and Mr. Famous, who attends the same school, offers them a lift. Unlike last season, at least he's learning that there is plenty of room in his manager's limo for other passengers. Gangster's up and awake, but he isn't heading off for school because he can pass all of his exams without studying, and he knows the bare minimum amount of days he needs to attend in order to pass. Like, we all knew a smug cunt like this at school, didn't we? Gamer Bro is barely awake because he decided to downgrade and play an app game. Like, he had a pretty impressive computer setup. The fuck are you doing playing a shitty mobile game? And the game he is playing has a name like World of Warrior or some shit. Like, if you're gonna parody WoW, at least have the dignity to make it a PC game. He's grumbling about how he had to work all night to keep his top score because some little punk kept trying to beat it. And Gangster just like, oh yeah, that was me, lol. And so then Gamer Bro decides to set up a little co-op date with him this evening. Personality Chan's talking to Scripted Chan because guess who's writing the play again? And when coming up with ideas, he says, all the casts seem pretty physical. And I'm like, yes, physical means they can dance, which means musical, yes please. Well, he reckons it means he can do a play with a lot of action scenes and leave my heart alone and broken. When he's talking about leads, Personality Chan states, Hot Hair seems to be writing who he is as a person and his entire being on this play. Should probably give him a major role to stop him from having a breakdown. So Gangster, Gamer Bro, and Prince Chan are there on their gaming date, and Scripted Chan once again completes the script on the brink of exhaustion. Gangster's freaking out about this guy who just passed out, whilst the other two are like, whoa, who does that? Our script this time round is a play about gangsters. Look, there is supposed to be a theme for each troupe. Spring was Shakespeare, summer was comedy, but this play is titled Roman One or something, so maybe the theme is Greek-Roman theater and they just did a modern adaptation. Who knows? I'm sure it'll be explained in upcoming episodes. But still, Gangster was literally making fun of Hot Hair before, saying that he could only play gangsters. You can't just let him be proven right by making him play a gangster. Once Gangster and Hot Hair learn they'll both be in the play, they immediately start arguing. Gangster doesn't want to share the same room as Hot Hair, so he just tells him to use the couch because he isn't going to use the couch, but he also isn't going to share a room with him, so there's obviously only one option here now, isn't there? Andy Warhol, aka the only actual gangster in the room, is so sick of these boys' shit that he just handcuffs them together. This leads to the only funny part of the show that actually made me laugh out loud. Gangster needs a glass of water, and Hot Hair needs to use lube. And Illuminati-chan just says, don't worry, I'll go to the toilet for you. It's so dumb. Why did I laugh at it? So they spend an awkward night sleeping with the handcuffs on. They learn the next morning that Andy Warhol is a working adult and therefore won't be back until the evening. Just when they thought they'd have nothing to do but wait until evening, Personality Chan's handbag is stolen by a motorbike cyclist, so the two of them chase after him. During their chase, they come across some kids and Gangster says, jump! Because yes, he thought they would be able to jump over these 10-year-olds. Hot Hair is like, fuck nah, and causes them to trip, which is still safer than getting them to attempt to yeet over two children. They catch the motorcyclist and decide to bash the crap out of him to help relieve their stress. Like, there are better ways to do that, guys. Just get a stress ball and light up some incense whilst listening to Classic Piano Tracks Volume 6 or some shit. When they come back, Personality Chan asks what they did with the rubber, and Gangster literally just like, yeah, we handed him over to the cops. Wow. How did I get all this dirt on my jacket and knuckles? Andy Warhol has decided that since they were able to put their differences aside for their passion of bashing up civilians, that they are now allowed to escape the handcuffs. And then they immediately start arguing again, but once Andy threatens them with the cuffs again, they calm the fuck down. Episode 16. Gangster doesn't go to morning rehearsal because he's having a good old sleeping, and he reckons that he's just so much better than the rest of the cast anyway that he doesn't need to attend every rehearsal to get good. Completely forgetting that half the reason you're attending a rehearsal is so that the other actors know how you're gonna say their lines and hence know how to react properly to them. Like, ugh. So when he finally shows up for either lunch or breakfast, I'm not entirely sure. Hot Hair's like, no, you don't get to have any Spanish omelette with veggies and rice. And now, guys, it has finally happened. The evil theatre company, God Theatre, has come into play. They sent a threatening letter with cutout magazine letters saying that the Autumn Troupe better not perform or else Andy Warhol, aka an actual Yakuza, merely sniffs at such a pathetic attempt at intimidation. So guys, you know how last ep I was complaining about their play being gangster themed? Since Simi Boy delivered the outfits, I completely take that back because damn! Ugh! How are these gangster outfits so good? Bloody photographer Chan is a copper, but his outfit looks like a sheriff's outfit. Like, what? You've got corrupt copper stuff to do in the morning and then zombies to fight in the evening? Then Evil Red doesn't get a cool outfit. He's just in civilian clothes. Anyway, when Simi Boy asks what he thinks of the outfit, he acts all awkward. Then after muttering under his breath, he looks just like her, confesses that he was in love with his neighbor growing up. He was cute like Simi Boy and dressed like Simi Boy and acted like Simi Boy. And when we see Simi Boy, it's like, oh nah, it was Simi Boy. I can't wait for that revelation. Andy Warhol's little lackey brought yo-yos because he was feeling nostalgic for yo-yos. And Evil Red's like, sick, I love yo-yos! And does all these cool tricks, only for Gangster to pick one up and do all the sick-ass tricks first try, ruining any hopes Evil Red had of ever becoming a professional yo-yo artist, if that is even a career. So old grumpy acting coach from before just turns up and Personality Chan's like, what the fuck are you doing back here? And he like, what? Because you were really going to hire a different acting coach this far in the game. So he watches them and we come across our first wanky acting logic. They were shit because they didn't put enough of themselves in their performance. It sort of makes sense. Like, you can sometimes tell when someone's putting on a sort of performance or character, and sometimes it's bad acting and sometimes it's good acting. So in order to get over this, they have to write and perform a 4-minute monologue about their biggest regret, which they're going to perform before the acting coach's theatre company's play. And then the audience will be given a survey to rate them. I think it was 4 minutes, because if they're 5 minutes, that's almost half an hour before the play starts, and that's fucking like a third of the length of an actual play. But yeah, we're getting depressing backstory monologues. Yeehaw! Hot Hair goes to write his, and he's like, geez, I've got too many regrets to pick from. So Andy Warhol's like, just write them all down and then trim away the less severe regrets. Meanwhile, Gangster's just playing video games like, I've lived a very privileged and fortunate first 17 years of my existence and therefore have no regrets. Photographer Chan's making scones for everyone, and he tells Personality Chan that Hot Hair's his favourite. Damn right he is, so he always gives him extra. So Personality Chan's like, oh, so what do you like about him apart from his obviously amazing hair? And he just drops, he reminds me of my bestie who died 3 years ago, and her face just says, the fuck? We're cooking scones for Pete's sake. Where did that come from? So then he asks if he can perform his monologue for her. Depressing backstory monologue time! We get his and Andy Warhol's at the same time, but I'll just talk about them one at a time. Surprise, surprise, Photographer Chan, aka the guy with the big fucking scar on his chin, used to be a gangster. He got into a big gangster battle where his bro died, and he only just recently learned from his parents that he wanted to be an actor. So now he's being an actor in his place since he didn't have a dream of his own. So you're telling me this guy, he has no dreams, decided to do something with as little an employment rate as photography? Fucking at least make him a lost and aimless business student, please. Oh my god, his monologue even has movements. Please don't have movements. They aren't required. Please watch Luke's AA therapy monologue from The Haunting of Hill House for reference. He reckons Hot Hair will hate him if he finds out the real reason why he's acting. Like, mate, it still isn't as bad as gangsters to show you up, cunt. Like, he won't care. Andy Warhol's, he grew up with a single mama, so his family couldn't afford extracurriculum activities. So instead, he'd just stand outside Monkai Company Theatre and watch the actors rehearse through the window, because that's not creepy or anything. But then he's invited into the theatre one day by a young personality-chan. Hold the fuck up! Andy Warhol, according to his wiki fandom bio, is 30. Personality-chan, who I thought was a fresh-eyed, white-eyed unigrad, was 30 years old the entire time? But let me tell you, bitch sure as hell doesn't look like 30. She definitely looks like she's 20. Like, damn, Simchan, no wonder you were whipped for her when she's looking that good at 30. Anyway, back to Andy Warhol's depressing monologue backstory. He eventually has to leave the troupe because he had to join the mob for money, and how he lent the money to them through his dodgy loan shark company because he genuinely wanted them to get back on their feet. Wow, he's so nice for a loan shark. Everyone needs scones, the end. Episode 17! So, it opens with Gangster-chan there finishing up his portrait, and he says, "And she died," and then does a little, and you see the light go out of Personality-chan's eyes, like, yeah. As soon as he's done there, like, yeah, mate, we ain't fucking falling for your bullshit. He is shocked that his fake little, was seen through. And even more shocked to hear that his performance is the shittest, whilst his rival Hot Hair's is the bestest. He lets his frustration out on video games and then decides he's quitting the troupe because he's just so much better than Hot Hair at acting that it isn't even a competition anymore. He's won, so he may as well leave. As he leaves, Hot Hair's saying it's because he doesn't take theatre seriously enough, and he shouts back at him that he's a damn ham. I doubt this Dr. Seuss shit was what they said in Japanese. He does the typical run away from home teen thing and just spends the whole time in Macca's. He ends up roaming around the theatre district in the evening, and who does he run into but Personality-chan? She DMs with him, says that maybe he should watch the others perform, and he just cuts her off. But there's no point because I'm just so much better than them. And she's like, yeah, but if you don't even see his performance, it's going to look like you're too pussy to see the results. And through her sneaky tactics, she once again wins a hapless teen over into doing her bidding. Personality-chan in general, the most useful heroine protagonist ever, bitch should win an award for this. So he watches the monologues. They show quick snippets of the other threes, including Evil Red, who's just about having the hots for Semi Boy again. Fucking called it! And then it starts. Finally, we get to see Hot Hair's backstory. In case you were wondering just how melodramatic this was going to be, his opening line, he says as he crouches down on one knee, is, "All of my life, I've felt different. You are a cis, heterosexual, neurotypical, able-bodied Japanese boy growing up in Japan. Please tell me more." Because of his height, his quote, scary face, like his face almost as hot as his hair, guys, and his quiet demeanor, everyone's been scared of him, mate. Once you hit 20, people are going to find you so intimidatingly and alluringly sexy that all your past drama you had will melt away. In middle school, he wanted to be in the school play because I could be someone other than me. But the teacher's like, bruh, there is no one else in the class strong enough to lift and move sets, so guess what you're doing? Basically, people would start fights with him because they mistook him for a gangster, so then he self-defensed himself out of these fights and accidentally became the toughest gangster in the neighborhood. I think this was the moment the red light was used. It may have also been the moment he stepped out of the spotlight and into the shadows. Oh yeah, there are movements and lighting to add to the melodrama. He talked about seeing Shai-chan, someone who couldn't even look me in the eye. Even though when he first joined the troupe, Shai-chan was super excited to see him and came straight up to him and looked him right in the eye and said, "Cuz!" So I don't know what he means here. He describes Sai-chan as being so timid he could barely talk to others. Like, wow. And he even uses his name like, wow, thanks for exposing your cousin's embarrassing past in front of a literal audience. I'm sure he fucking appreciates it. He says how he couldn't get over how theatre stopped Sai-chan from being a little bitch so that he was determined to act. He says how he is still so amazed that he passed the audition even after only 5 people turned up to the audition and all 5 passed. And the script writer literally wrote a script specifically for them and their cast number after meeting them. Has this guy really not clued into the fact that they will let literally anyone into their theatre troupe? Or maybe he has, but he thought it'd ruin the momentum of his depressing monologue. I couldn't believe I passed the audition. But then I realised the guy just took in anyone, so whatevs. And then the grand final of his piece, as he's pacing the stage and he's waving his arms about and he's shouting, and so I have to do theatre. This is my one and only and last chance to change. End of monologue. One of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Gangster is sitting in the audience like, fuck. And he learning that even if you're good, if you're only half-assing it, is shit. Because you can't half-ass in theatre. He comes back to the troupe and humbly apologizes for leaving. They forgive him, and Evil Red suggests, hey, why don't we all bathe together? And everyone's response to this is, what? Are you shitting me? A moe show where the characters question bathing together? What is this? Andy Warhol is really not keen on this since it's probably illegal for him to bathe with minors. When they're bathing together, Evil Red says, isn't being naked together the best? Like, look. If this were a show with female characters, I wouldn't even bat an eyelid at that line because the girls in these shows are incredibly unrealistic and say the type of shit a teenager would never say. Like that, all the time. But in a show with boys, man, it makes you stop and think, what? Everyone comments on how much hotter Andy Warhol is when he's naked and not wearing glasses. And he's like, oh no, they realize that I'm hot. Back at rehearsal, and they show Gangster practicing, but doing shit like re-saying a line to figure out the best way to deliver it. Like, yes, I am a slut for realistic portrayals of acting and improvement on them. During rehearsal, Evil Red gets a phone call. And he looks so sad. Like, we went through your dark past, buddy. Do you still have even more dark past that you haven't exposed yet? And then it happens. Simi Boy comes rushing into rehearsal all upset and grabs Personality-chan, only to show us that the costumes are ruined. All the costumes have been torn up. Yes! Yes! God, theatre troupe sent a fucking mole in to do panty shit like tear up the costumes. Like, Simi Boy didn't even make these costumes. He specifically mentioned that he just altered pre-made suits. Like, he could either go op shopping or probably even ask a company for their off-lay suits. Or fuck it, just ask around for people to let him borrow their suits. Or fuck it, just get the cast and just bring in suits they already own. Like, guys, this is not a disaster. I even called him Evil Red and he literally turned out to be evil. It's like I called it completely by accident. Episode 18, and I was right. It is not a disaster because the team are onto it. No more rehearsals. Everyone's just gonna help Simi Boy remake the outfits. And bloody Andy Warhol easily affords new suits for everyone. And whilst everyone's all motivated to save the play, Evil Red is just in behind someone and hiding his face because he's not guilty at all. And it's here. The play starting. My god, so soon. We still have 4 more episodes to go. In the foyer, it's one of the little god theatre pieces of shit, and he's there telling off the usher for reading his seat number wrong, and he's there in his cardigan and his little yellow bow tie, and god, he looks like such a prick. Please don't convert to Monkai Company, please. And the head of God Theatre is there, and he introduces himself to Personality-chan. Hello. I am the director of God Theatre Company. Then when Personality introduces herself, he says, Oh, so you're related to him? Yes, well, everyone knows about him. And she's like, what can, what? What dodgy shit did my absentee father do? God damn it! During the first performance, oh nah, Andy Warhol catches Evil Red trying to move the props. Then Andy forgets one of his lines, but it's fine and dandy because Hot Hair covered for him so that no one knows the fudge up. Afterwards, Personality Chan catches him in the theatre and he says, I fucked up so bad. I forgot a whole line. Why did I decide to do theatre when I'm obviously horrific and terrible at it? And Personality Chan's like, woof, mate, you really didn't see the Summer Troupe's dress rehearsal, did ya? And explains to him that it's okay to make mistakes and shit. He's still real good. Then he goes up like he's going to kiss her. Ooh, is this the ship, eh? And then he just casually reminds her that she's in debt to him, so yeah, probably shouldn't try anything on him. And not only does he not forget his lines, but now he's on fire, baby, yeah! All the while, Evil Red is looking super stressed out and upset. It is the day of their final performance, and Evil Red receives a beautiful phone call. The head of God Theatre is on the phone, completely disappointed that the sales for the show are fantastic instead of abysmal like they planned. And he tells Evil Red if he doesn't do something, anything, to ruin the last performance, he'll never act again! Look! When I first heard there was an evil theatre troupe, I was so excited. And let me tell you, they have not disappointed. Only an evil theatre troupe would threaten someone with something as petty as a standard 1950s cinema threat. You'll never whack in this town again, like I can't breathe. But photographer Chad overheard. So now Evil Red is bawling his eyes out now that his most ultimate of betrayals has been discovered. Like his voice actor's doing the whole barely able to talk through tears voice. Like this cunt is fucking going for it. But no, it is photographer Chan who's apologizing because, like, I noticed you'd been acting all weird, but like, I didn't actually do anything about it. Sussman, my bad. And he's holding Evil Red close and staring into his eyes like, this show just ships everyone with everyone. Multi-shippers be having a grand old sail through this series. So they go to confront the troupe. Evil Red there kowtowing, and then Gangster says, oh, I knew your portrait was pretty dodgy. Because yes, the only way his portrait could have been unconvincing was if he was lying. Because it couldn't have been he just had a lame backstory and was shit at acting, now could it? So now we get Evil Red's performance Mark II. This time round it is that he wasn't super popular at school. He was kinda shit at everything. The yo-yo story comes back into play because he learned a yo-yo trick so that people would like him. But by the time you learned the yo-yo tricks, no one gave a crap about them anymore. Maybe you should have thought through your get popular quick scheme a bit more thoroughly. But then Aurelie scores him an extras role in a TV show, and it is the only time people at school cared about him. So as a result, he decides to get into acting, but he's kind of shit at it and never gets anywhere. He runs into Mr. Famous on set and realizes that this man right here, now he's charismatic whilst he's just annoying. He joins God Theatre, and it's just part of their ensemble and whines that he's not center stage. Okay, mate, they do musicals in God Theatre, and as an ensemble member in a musical, you are still doing plenty. Sure, you don't get lines or solos, but fucking hell, you're constantly running around and dancing and singing like you're still doing shit as an ensemble member. And then that's when God Theatre's head snatches him. He sees a sad, vulnerable cast member and says if he acts as a mole at Monk Eye Theatre, he'll give him a big role in their next show. I love how even when this theatre company is being evil, it's still so theatre-y in how it does so. Like, oh my god, this reminds me so much of High School Musical. So then he laments about how he cheated his way to a role at Monk Eye Theatre. Why haven't the younger members of this troupe done the fucking math and realised even if they turned up and just did like a horrific audition or just straight up refused to audition, that they would have still landed a role in this play? He says how this plan made him sick because it meant he was defiling theatre, something I love. Like, oh yeah, As soon as I saw his hair and the outfits, I thought, pretentious drama student. Then he says the guilt he felt at Hot Hair's earnest desire to be an actor. Look, I would say being an actor so that I have friends and am not a loner is a fairly legitimate reason to get into acting. You know, working hard at not being lonely is like a basic human right, mate. So I was expecting him to give some speech about how much this troupe means to me, but he doesn't even. He's just like, yeah, don't want to be the prick that ruins the play. Episode 19, last step of the Autumn Troupe, guys! It opens with Gangster's real portrait, which is mostly shit we've all heard before, except the last line, which is cut off, so we have to wait until later to hear it anyway. Whilst Gangster and Hot Hair are trying to get to sleep, Gangster finally has a proper D&M talk with Hot Hair, just for him to fall asleep on him. Are you trying to sabotage your friendship here? And now it's the night of the closing night. Oh no, that sexy head of God Theatre comes up to Evil Red and says, "Now you know what you have to do." Mwahaha. But it's okay, because his big theatre bros come and stand up for him. And Evil Red's like, yeah, I'm leaving God Theatre. So our villain's plan has been foiled. But he isn't too shitty about it, because as he says, all I did was lose a pawn. Which I'm sure for those of you out there who've watched The Queen's Gambit, you'd feel very differently about that quote. But I don't, because I've been too busy watching Auntie Donna, aka Loud Screamy Boys, and Blood of Zeus, aka Gorefest motherfucker. So yeah, intricate battles of chess strategy that will just have to wait because screams and blood is more important. One of the actors who was with the head when this happened was appalled at these ridiculous and childish theatre schemes to ruin Monkey Company. So he decides to quit the theatre troupe where he is the top actor. I mean, good for you for standing by your morals, but you could have possibly lost the highest paying and most meaningful job you will ever hold. Or just a job in general. Have fun on government benefits, brother. But we all know that's not going to happen because he's going to join up the Winter Troupe instead. Speaking of them, there was also this kid with purple hair in the audience and a man with long white hair, so ooh, I wonder who will be joining the Winter Troupe. And now, the play! I wasn't that excited to watch this play as the last ones, a combination of I don't know the source material and that the scenes they've rehearsed or the directorial decisions made haven't grabbed my morbid curiosity. So in a way, I'm going into this play blind with no idea of what'll actually go down. So, the play! Okay. I was initially confused about this play, since all the plays before it have been based on other works, but this one didn't seem to be. But the fan wiki haven't informed me that it is. So, how the Spring Troupe do Shakespeare and the Summer Troupe do comedies, the Autumn Troupe do not do Greek or Roman theatre like I guessed, but action-packed plays. That is so vague and lame. How do you make live theatre with a cast of 5 look action-packed? And the play is loosely, I will say this, loosely, based off of real live gangsters Lucky Luciano and Lansky. I wish both of these factors were more clearly stated, because fuck, I would have been so much more excited for this play if they had been. Though they did mention they were going to do an action play because the leads were fit. But anyway, the dialogue these gangsters have sounds like what a 17-year-old would think gangsters talked like. And oh, look, it is! They say stuff like ass, and they have the line, I won't get near you with a 10-foot pole. Oh yeah? Well, I won't get near you with a 20-foot pole. Like, no real mobsters would say that. If they didn't want to get near you, they'd just have you assassinated. So we see an action scene once again. How do we have an action play with only 5 people? The answer is shadows. They are there dramatically punching and kicking shadows. Shadows in the outline of people. Don't ask me how they did it. I do not need to say this, but I will. Nothing looks cool or action-packed about 2 teenage boys kicking at shadows. Lansky, played by Hot Hair, is poor and has a dying brother he desperately needs to get money for his expensive surgery that will make him normal. Considering his current condition just seems to be in the middle of laughing, he starts coughing. I can't really think of any expensive surgery that would be used to correct this. Once again, this feels like it was written by a teenager who has never met a chronically ill child before. Okay, maybe a lung transplant, but that seems like a bit of a stretch. I mean, after seeing all of this, an Evil Red portraying said dying brother, I don't think God Theatre really needed to intervene in order to make this play look shit. Just to be clear, I did very briefly look over Lansky's wiki page and no, I don't think he actually had a dying brother he needed to protect. But oh nah, in order to get the money he required, he was also working for the cops. Though mobsters have done this before in the past, Lansky never sold out to the cops because they couldn't charge him for anything more than illegal gambling. They make the copper look like the villain here, no. Future head mobster Lansky and Lucky Luciano are definitely the villains here. Now, Andy Warhol plays their big mob leader who teams them up and gets them to do little schemes for him. And he is playing none other than Al Capone. This tall, handsome, blonde bishy is playing Al Capone. Not that Lucky Luciano and Lansky were super good looking either, but yeah. Everyone knows what Al Capone looks like, and he doesn't look like that. Also, Al Capone was never Luciano's boss. They were bros with equal footing in running their own gangs. This kid literally just Google searched famous gangsters and named his OCs after them. Lansky places evidence on Lucky Luciano to make it look like he was the one talking to the cops. But instead of shooting him through the head, the two of them escape the mob. They just run off and leave the syndicate with apparently no ramifications for their actions whatsoever. And Andy Warhol / Al Capone planned it that way because, well, he was the one who teamed them up. Once again, another play where people definitely should have died, but somehow managed to survive the play. The entirety of this play is literally a teenager who did a brief Google search of gangster. I don't even think this kid has even done the bare minimum and watched a gangster film. Even I've done that. The Irishman's sick, y'all. I don't care if it's 3 hours long. It even ends with them saying, maybe we'll operate a security guard business together, which is much more innocent than their actual businesses, which was bootlegging and running casinos. So during the play, we hear the last line of Gangster's portrait, which is that he regretted finding life easy and not realizing it was purely because he's a dumb teenager who's never had to deal with real life challenges like holding down a job and paying taxes. But the thing that makes life challenging and motivates him is hot hair and his fighting and acting. And not in the attractiveness of his hair like it should be. It's the most non-homo way of describing that you're homo for someone. After the play finishes, we see the head of God Theatre with that pretentious kid from before. And he straight up says to him, well, since my head actor left the company, you're now the head. Not trying to explain how talented this kid is or how he was ready for the position. It's literally just a case of, well, someone had to fill this position. And then he explains his next evil scheme. I will challenge Monk Eye Company to an act-off and publicly humiliate them. Yes! Oh, baby! These pathetic, evil attempts at destroying Monk Eye Company is so much more beautiful than anything I could have ever dreamed up. Thank you, anime. What the fuck is even an act-off? I can't wait to find out. Hot Hair finally lets everyone know that he and Shai-chan are cousins because I guess now that he's done a full run of a play and left his gangster ways, he has now achieved his goal of being a better person. It's nice to see he reached his vague Oscar Bates-style goal. Gamer Bro tells Gangster to game with him and he's like, I just finished a week-long theatre run. I am not capable of pulling a gamer all-nighter at this point in time. Evil Red apologizes to Simi Boy for destroying all those outfits he put his blood, sweat and tears into making, which he accepts if Evil Red becomes his little sewing assistant. This is literally ship number 3 for Simi Boy here. Fucking, if he gets another one next season, he's going to have himself a harem. Personality-chan and Andy Warhol are alone in the theatre again and have another kinda romantic moment. Look, he is the closest in age to her, so it works, but it feels weird in a harem-style show where only 2 of the 15 boys actually act like they're in a harem. And that was the Autumn Troupe for A3 Addict actors. Oh no, all that's left is the Winter Troupe, and that makes me sad. Thank you for listening to episode 17 of Anime for Trashdwellers on Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter. Bye!